Hello, welcome back. Today we're talking about top 5 buy-to-let property hotspots in the UK. Welcome back, my name is Marco, I'm a property investor, developer and mentor. And today we're talking about the top 5 buy-to-let property hotspot areas in the UK. Now first of all, I must start off this video by saying, in all these 5 areas, you can pick up a really good deal, but not only that, you've got a very good chance of property passing its stress test. Now what do I mean here? Well, for any of you in property in 2022, when interest rates suddenly hiked up, you'll notice that some of those areas, some of those buy-to-let areas, where investors were investing in 2021 are no longer feasible today in 2023 because interest rates have increased and these types of properties no longer pass their stress test. However, do not worry, these 5 areas that I'm mentioning here today on this video, providing you're buying the property at a good price, you've got a very, very good chance of getting the stress test passed and therefore purchasing this property and using it as a buy-to-let property. Also, before I go on to talk about these 5 particular areas, all these 5 areas have a really nice blend and a nice balance between yield and capital appreciation. So what is yield? Well, yield is the annual rental income of the property over the purchase price, and capital appreciation is the increase in value of that property over the long run. So if we look back 5, 10, 20 years, all these 5 areas have had really strong capital appreciation, and this could be because most of these areas have really strong fundamentals. So they have things like low crime, good employers, good transport links, a high number of owner-occupiers living in these types of areas, and all these variables help push up property prices in the long term. Now, I personally bought in 4 of these 5 areas, and all these 5 areas I know very, very well. So I'd like to think that I'm, well suited and skilled to speak about these 5 areas in detail. And lastly, I must confess, this video there is a strong bias to the north of the UK. As some of you know, I'm based in Leeds and I invest in Yorkshire, and I really don't like to invest more than a couple of hours from my home. So you'll find that all these 5 areas are in the north of the UK. So I apologise for anyone in the south, in the Midlands. Don't get me wrong, there's some great places to invest in the Midlands and in the south. But in the north, I really find it works well, and also it's close to my home. So number 1, and I'm sorry, this won't surprise my subscribers, is Leeds. Leeds is where I'm from, it's where I live, and it's mainly where I invest in. Leeds is just an incredible, incredible city. Now yes, I'm maybe being biased, however, I moved away from Leeds when I went to university, when I started working in a FTSE 100 role, and only when I moved away did I realise how good the city actually is. Now coming on to property, the reason why I say Leeds is so great to invest in is 2 reasons. A, you get a good yield. You get a nice strong yield, which means yes, you're going to pass the stress test and you're making good cash flow on a monthly basis. But not only that, Leeds has phenomenal capital appreciation. Again, if we look at the data going back 5, 10 years, 20 years, the properties in Leeds increase in value higher than the average in the UK. Now there are certain pockets of Leeds that I really like investing in, and these particular pockets you'll just see ridiculous capital appreciation going back even just 5 years. So if you'd bought in these areas in Leeds 5 years ago, your property is nearly doubled in value just in 5 years without really doing any work to the property and just relying on the values in those areas being pushed up. Now there are some places to invest in Leeds and there are some places to not invest in Leeds, and we're talking about buy-to-let here. So if you're trying to buy a buy-to-let property in the north of Leeds, which is generally speaking the more affluent area, well, this is going to be somewhat tricky unless you're getting a really good price point, because you're not going to pass the stress test nowadays. The yield will be too low and banks and lenders may be hesitant to lend money for you to purchase this property. So there are other areas of Leeds that I would recommend looking at, and essentially you can do everything but the north of Leeds. So if you look to the east, if you look to the south, and if you look to the west, these particular 3 areas are really good areas to invest in, especially for buy-to-let property. They have really good, strong rental demand, but not only that, you'll find that the capital appreciation in these areas is also great too. Now don't get me wrong, there are some kind of no-go areas where I wouldn't invest in. Don't get me wrong, you can get good figures, you can get a nice return, you can get a strong cash flow, but if you manage these properties yourself, do you want to be going to these areas? I don't know, that's a question you need to ask yourself. Again, if you're appointing an agent, then it doesn't really matter, but remember to include their fees and make sure the numbers stack on the deal. So moving on from Leeds, we're coming on to number 2, which is Greater Manchester. Greater Manchester is absolutely fantastic. And again, from me, I can be in Greater Manchester in 45 minutes on the M62, nice and easy, nice and quick. Now, Greater Manchester is actually quite a large area. You know, you've got probably over 1 million properties within the Greater Manchester area itself. In fact, well over 1 million properties just thinking about it now. Now, the reason, again, I love Greater Manchester is capital appreciation. Manchester is seen as a bigger city than Leeds, and it's seen as the #1 city in the north, you know, the northern powerhouse. And because of that, values in Manchester tend to increase, you know, over the long term, higher than the average in the UK. So with that being said, you know, if you're investing in good areas of Greater Manchester or areas that are up and coming and you think maybe in 5-10 years, these are going to be really popular, trendy areas, you know, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised on what that property will be worth 5-10 years going forward. Again, Manchester has really strong demand from a rental point of view. Lots of huge employers in Manchester, so you're not going to be short on tenants and renting it out to tenants. And again, providing you're buying in good areas of Manchester, there are some no-go areas in Manchester as well, but providing you're buying in good areas, again, I think it's a good, solid, safe investment for the long term. Okay, so number 3, we come on to Liverpool. I've had really good success investing in Liverpool. And when I first started investing in Liverpool, I really didn't know much about it at all. I had some friends that went to university there, my sister went to university there, and I slowly got to know the area a bit more. But Liverpool's absolutely phenomenal because the nice thing I think about Liverpool is kind of a bit of an undiscovered gem. Yes, property prices have been increasing over the past 5 years, as pretty much everywhere in the UK has. But I find in Liverpool, those prices haven't increased to, I think, maybe what they should be. So that means even today, you can get a really good deal in Liverpool. You can get a really nice yield. And I think going forward, the capital appreciation outlook and forecast, you know, long term, say 5-10 years, is a very strong and positive one. Again, you've got lots of employers in the areas, you've got lots of universities in the areas, and therefore you've got a very strong rental demand. Okay, so number 4, this is a bit of an unexpected one, a bit of a niche one, but again, one where I've had a lot of success in. And it's quite a small place. Most people won't have even heard of it. Again, I didn't hear of it until I went to university there, which is Lancaster. So Lancaster is a small place, basically, in Lancashire, and because it's so small and it's got a very defined kind of city centre boundary, the supply of property is finite. And because of this, if you're picking up stock within the city itself at a really good price point, well, you can expect capital values to increase in the long term simply because supply, you know, they just can't build any more properties within the city centre itself. So Lancaster's really great. Now in Lancaster, you have different types of tenant demographics. Really, you have 2 main types. So you have student accommodation, which is absolutely great because you have 2 universities in Lancaster itself, and that's what I target at, which is great. But then you also have, I'd say, the kind of retired population who are looking to rent as well. There's quite a high percentage of people in Lancaster who are retired and obviously need somewhere to rent. So they're the main 2 markets, the main 2 tenant demographics in those areas. But Lancaster is really great because the supply is so low, and if you can buy at the right price, I think you'll see the value of that property in the long run increase quite significantly. Okay, so on to number 5, which is the very last one, and we're talking about Battle of the Roses here, so we're going from Lancaster and let's go to York. So York is a great place to invest in, and the reason why I think personally York is a very good place to invest in, don't get me wrong, the yield may be slightly lower than the locations and towns and cities that we've mentioned thus far in the video. However, York has a very strong outlook in terms of capital appreciation. York is seen as a bit more of a premium area, and if you can be buying buy-to-let property and maybe adding value to that property as well, maybe via refurbishment, then I'm sure your long-term figures, your 5-10 year plus figures will look absolutely phenomenal. And this is because York prices, and there are certain pockets of York where demand for owner-occupiers is very strong. But not only that, rental demand is extremely strong too. And everything is more expensive in York. Rents are more expensive, housing is more expensive, but you'll still be able to pass the stress test providing you're purchasing this property at a good discount and a good price. So to recap in order, we've spoken about 5 areas that I would strongly consider investing in. Again, these are in the north of the UK, and we're talking specifically about buy-to-let property here. So we've got Leeds, first of all, Greater Manchester, Liverpool and the Merseyside area, Lancaster, and lastly, York. So I hope you've got value from this video, and let me know, where are you investing in? It doesn't have to be in the north, it could be in the Midlands, it could be in the south, it could be anywhere, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, wherever. Where do you think is a great place to invest in, that's for buy-to-let property? Comment it below, and I'm sure everyone watching this channel and subscribers will be very greatly appreciated on your comments, and they can see maybe some areas to invest in that maybe they hadn't thought about before. So lastly, YouTube tells me the majority of people watching this channel are not subscribed. So please do me a favor, it doesn't mean a lot to me. Consider subscribing to the channel, and let's help the channel grow and get these videos in front of the people that need to see them the most. As you know, I'm running a competition. Once we get to 10,000 subscribers, one subscriber will be chosen at random, and you'll be joining me in the cockpit, and we'll be flying over Leeds and Yorkshire together and sharing an amazing experience. And for those of you that subscribe to the channel, every Tuesday and every Thursday at 2 o'clock, I release a full-length video. So stay tuned for that. All the best with your property investing. Goodbye.